welcome to Thriving Rockstar with Alex Drake. And today's guest is Andy Timmons. How are you, Andy?
Hey Alex, I'm good. I'm not sure if I'm thriving or a rock star, but I'm happy to be. I'm happy to be on your. I'm happy to. How do we quantify rock star? If it means sitting with your guitar with a coffee talking on the Skype, maybe I'm a rock star. But other than that, I'm not
You
sure what
got
my
amps behind you, so
Oh, hey, how'd those get that? Now this is just a back. This is just one of those backdrops you can find in video editing. Yeah, it's just. I wish I had some old Marshalls and a lovely stack of Maces. Well, yeah, wouldn't that be nice? Your background looks like you got a couple of horns going there with your
yeah.
logo. With your logo, you've got with
It's
the.
pretty metal, yeah.
It's pretty. It is. It looks very metal. You got the good goatee going. You're looking way more rock star than I am. You know.
Uh, well,
Anyway, good morning.
yeah,
It's
good
well,
morning, man.
I say morning. It's noon here in Texas. It's noon Central Time, and
Yeah.
in this day of the pandemic, the schedules are just kind of like the days just don't have the usual form that they used to have. I have a wife and son, and which is the upside for me is that we were home together.
hmm
We were playing ping pong on the dinner table last night, it was kind of great. So I'm not trying to make light of a horrible situation, but at the same time, it's kind of helping all of us reevaluate, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, you got to make the most of it. People are there's enough
Yeah.
suffering to go around. We don't need to add to
Oh,
it.
absolutely. I want to be realistic, and I want to keep informed, but I also want to do the best to keep my sanity and help the others around me.
Yeah,
Because I think that's just really the best thing we can do is
mhm,
be helping each other more than ever, right? So,
yeah,
but I was
yeah,
just saying, it's like we were up. I just with the schedule of my normal life at home, I'm in bed by probably midnight. But now it's been 2 or 3. So yeah, now noon is the new morning. Once I get rolling and get my guitar and get into the studio. This is so I'm talking to you from my studio. This is where I do a lot of my lesson. I have a guitar educational website, so I do a lot of my
yeah.
videos from here and a lot of my recording. And this is where the band rehearses and all that good stuff. So multi-purpose room.
Yeah, no, I like that you do that. I mean, the whole guitar experience thing that you have
Hmm.
going.
Yeah.
And that's one thing I've mentioned in the past on this show, just about entrepreneurship, because I feel
Okay.
that artists are just inclined toward that from a personality perspective, right?
Well,
And
I mean, yeah, I'll speak to that in a minute, but please continue.
yeah, yeah, and I feel like today we have so much more opportunity to reach our fans because of the internet and
Yes.
and the nature of things. And literally today, in this COVID thing, the I guess the silver lining here for artists is that we can engage with our fans. They're more at home, more engaged with us. So
It's incredible. But what you were saying about musicians being inclined to be entrepreneurial is I'm saying that right, entrepreneurial. Um, I don't think I fit into that category. It's weird because most of my career has really been guided just by the music part of it,
hmm
and anytime I've made decisions kind of based on like money things or what I thought would optimize, didn't usually pan out in the best way. Not every time, but certainly yes. Now for sure whether you're inclined for business in that way or not. I'm avoiding entrepreneurial. I can't say it
yeah.
anyway. I'm avoiding that word because I'm having trouble saying it. But I think there's no option. But I'm learning. Overall, I'm just learning. I'm learning how to embrace it, and I'm learning to get more comfortable with it,
hmm
and I'm learning how to do it. And I'm finding that it is that we have the blessing of being able to reach our fans in a very direct way. It's
hmm
pretty incredible. I mean, initially, even just speaking because I've been doing it for so long. I'm 57 now, so my career started when I was 16
hmm
ish. In that regard. So I've seen all these changes. And when the internet came along, it was kind of, especially what is it, Napster came along,
Oh yeah.
and I just went, oh dear, that's my entire life now available for free.
Mm.
I said, because I had always envisioned, once I had kids in college, I thought, well, this might be the way, my catalog might be the way. And that just kind of went away as far
Mm.
as that preconceived, established business model that went away in an instant, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But it's turned out to be, you know, more of a blessing than a curse, I think, overall. I think the fact that I have any career at all is really thanks to the internet, you know, because I didn't take a very normal path, you know, as far as get in a van and be on the road 300 days out of the year.
You
You
were
know,
more of a session player, right?
was more of a session player and gigs, and I was, you know, I was a very happy team player side man. You know, when I took the Danger gig,
Mm-hmm.
you know, we could speak a lot on that. That's a whole
Oh yeah.
story in itself, and then, you know, with Olivia Newton-John I was her music director for 15 years, and I stuff with Simon Phillips, but also maintaining the Andy Timmons band throughout the whole thing.
Yeah.
You know, and still, you know, we're together doing what we do. So it's just interesting. I've had a very unusual career, but I've been very fortunate, even though I wasn't the best at the business and self-promotion side. Again, with the advent of the internet, and so many videos that helped promote my career, I had nothing to do with uploading. It was either fan shot stuff or other videos that people circulate. Like the version of "Cry for You" that people most know me for
Mm-hmm.
was an Ibanez concert, and there was a video. It wasn't officially disseminated, but somebody, of course, uploaded it once that technology was there.
Right.
And man, there's, you know, a big part of my fan base, I think, originated there.
I think I originated there too.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. Is so, whereas first I was like, oh, you know, oh dang, poor me, you know, all my work is now out there for free. But then there was that side of it, and I think I have, you know, so many of those types of videos and that kind of fan interaction. And it brought to mind, even before all this, there was an interview I heard with Elvis Costello, who's one of my favorite songwriters of all time. He's just a brilliant, he has a brilliant mind. You know, he's one of those artists where I find a lot of artists, I enjoy hearing them speak as much as I do their music.
Right.
Like when you hear Hendrix talk, he speaks like he plays, man. It's this beautiful, warm thing that just wraps you up. And Elvis is one of the most brilliant lyricist, and when he speaks, it's in the same type of verse almost. It's just, but he was mentioning that, you know, you just have to do it when asked about advice for songwriters, advice for musicians. You know, just his advice was, well, you just got to do what's in your heart and give it your best, and one day at the bottom of the ocean, somebody just might find it.
Mm.
You know what I mean? And there was so much beauty and wisdom in that. You know, it's just if you really have something truly to offer that's unique or heartfelt or genuine, I think that people eventually will recognize it. And now with the technology at hand, they have the ability to share it with their friends.
Mm-hmm.
And hasn't that always been the way, though, with, you know, with music, at least in my youth growing up? It was all whatever my older brothers were listening to or what my buddy at school was. Hey, man, check this out.
Yeah.
But now we have, hey, check this out, is the internet, you know, it's
right.
And it's an infinite reach, you know, so it's pretty incredible in that way. So
Mm-hmm.
I feel very blessed that for whatever reason, I'm kind of doing what I've always done, and I am learning and growing, I think, as a musician, probably more now than ever, but that there's people that appreciate it, and they have the ability to let me know that, and that it means the world. It means, you know, I said it in an update the other day. It's profoundly more valuable to me than the financial end. Yeah. Because that's what music has always been. It's been an emotional support, emotional boost, a place to be when you're sad, a place to be if you need to be uplifted and have some energy and get pumped up for life. You know, there's rock and roll for that. So for me to be providing that for other people and them being able to let me know about it means everything, man. And so. Yeah, I gotta keep a roof over my family's head and all that. So I have to figure out along the way, you know, how to be somewhat of a businessman. Yeah, and it's just kind of very contrapuntal to my nature. It really is.
I hear that, but you know what's great? It's great that the way things have developed for us as artists, because we don't have to be like you don't have to figure out how to make a program in order to you know, to do all this stuff. Like that technology is becoming easier and more accessible for us.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, and
no doubt.
Yeah, and before, like, we were at the whim of the label and these, like, you know, big business people, and we have to go through them. They're the gatekeepers. Now, we have direct access to our fans.
It's like, do you dig this or not? You know,
right?
No, that was my analogy too. When, you know, people were always asking, "What do I got to do to make it in the music industry?" Even before the internet took off but it was already kind of a thing. I said, well, all you have to do is be great. Just
Right.
because, I mean, and that's a bizarre thing to say, but it goes back to what Elvis was talking about, where if you really have something of value or something
Right.
of beauty, before you had to have that and then figure out, how do I get this guy's attention in New York City or LA?
Mm.
And how do I get in front of the right person at the right time? So it wasn't just the greatness or the beauty or the
Right.
value. It had all these other, pieces of the puzzle that had to magically fall in place, and you had to have lawyers and business people and meetings, but now it's really down to, okay, man, let's hear it. What do you? And so I would always talk about Andy McKee,
Mm.
who was just back in the day of everybody starting to upload videos on the internet. Here's a guy. Where was he, in Arkansas or Oklahoma? I forget. But he was just a wonderful, beautiful musician playing in a beautiful way. And then next thing you know, he's able to get out and tour
Yeah.
300 dates a year. And he's still doing it. And so that he would have been that guy that everybody in that town thought, man, that guy is as good as anybody or better in the world. And every town has those people. Believe me, it's like, I've been so blessed to travel in so many places all over the globe, and you better believe it, man. And now we know that because everybody can put their video on Instagram, and that's been kind of cool at this time where people are just, well, they have nothing else they can do if they can't go out and work. Well, I'm gonna play my instrument, and even if I'm not, Eddie Van Halen or Joe Satriani, put my video out and be participating and making music and get some feedback and dude, you suck, or that was awesome, or and just keep trying and there's so much beauty in the act of listening to music and playing music, no matter what levels. Not everybody's meant to be the world's top virtuoso. It doesn't matter. It's just the fact that they're doing something, they're participating in what they love, right?
Yeah, no, that's
I'm
the main
sure you
thing.
can. I'm sure you can remember the first time you were able to play something halfway decent of one of your favorite artists or bands, or you're learning.
Oh yeah.
For me, it was sitting in my bed trying to learn Kiss on an acoustic guitar, and I would stick the microphone from my cassette player into the acoustic guitar, so when it would record it, it would be distorted.
Right.
I listened back and all that kind of sounds like I'm trying to play Firehouse or Black Diamond or something.
Right.
And it wasn't even remotely close, but it was, wow, I'm doing it.
It's very satisfying, yeah.
It is, and you see that with all these players, man. And some of them, of course, are like better than I'll ever hope to be, or just beginning. It doesn't matter, man. We're doing it, and that's kind of a cool part of all this.
Oh yeah. I don't want to make you blush. I mean, one of my first little things early on was the intro to Cry for You. So
Oh man, right on. Well, I'm honored by that. Thank you, man. Well, again, now that I'm at an age where I've been doing it for this long, and I've seen people putting videos up and then playing some of my tunes. It's just kind of, I never take it for granted because I'm still just a fan. I have so many heroes and people that I try to live up to their standard of what they've created. And so if I'm that for any small way in some other players, it's very humbling and very, very, very gratifying. And thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. What's interesting, I mean, this is kind of you have to know where things are headed to some degree, and take advantage of the of whatever tools are available, and just be just be smart about it,
I'm learning.
Yeah.
I'm trying.
We're all learning, and I mean, as much as it's great that all these people now are able to put out content, but now the bar is just creeping up higher and higher as far as what's acceptable. So video is important, like quality of video. And
okay, yeah, we're talking about a different thing there. That's just not your bedroom Instagram quick thing. But yeah,
right.
That is the other thing too, is the technology's there, so there is so much content.
Oh yeah.
So there's so much to wade through, and I rely almost entirely on friend recommendations. It's the same with gear.
Yeah.
I've got a guy, Ryan Meter, at the Guitar Sanctuary here in McKinney. I can't try every pedal. I know I'll love all of them, but there's going to be things I'll gravitate. But he knows my taste well enough to, hey, Andy, you should check out. And that's how I found JHS. He said, you should check out this Angry Charlie pedal. This is really cool. So it was on my board for a while. Then I started using it. And next thing you know, now I'm working with them. And So it's the same with music where there's just so much out there, but you have, either who you subscribe to or who you follow on the socials or your friends. That's how stuff comes across.
Sure.
And that's how you learn, and things come to the surface that have, like I say, it's some beauty or some value in some way.
I feel like we should all take opportunities where we see them, and we get to play music, and that's the most important thing. And for you took on session playing, and that was like a great little thing to jump into that you've been.
Well,
doing.
that was actually my instinct when I was 15, 16.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, that's when I sought out a local teacher in Evansville, Indiana, where I grew up, to take lessons, because I was in a rock band that eventually became the local heroes, a band called Taylor Bay in Evansville,
mm-hmm.
Indiana. And we were together about 7 years. So that formative part of my playing was all in this one band, where we just started off as a cover band, ended up recording a bunch of original material, and actually ended up, I was the one, here we go. I'm not an entrepreneur, but I was the one sending out the demos to the labels,
right.
And I was the kid in the band. I was the youngest member. And it was a bunch of older, not that much older, but when you're dealing with 4, 5, 6 years older, when you're 15, that's the bass player was 22. Oh my God, he's so old. That was my thought. But it was, Evansville's kind of a small town, and there wasn't a whole lot of worldly aspiration. If you grew up there, you were just kind of thinking, well, this is where I'm going to be. And so even then, I thought making it in a rock band and getting signed to a label was that this is like winning the lottery. This just didn't even seem like it was such a fantasy world thing. It didn't happen. So, but I was reading Guitar Player magazine and seeing Tommy Tedesco's studio column, and then finding out that, well, Larry Carlton and Steve Lukather are my favorite players or session guys. They play on everybody's records. That's what I could do. But oh shit, they know how to read music, and they can play any style. So that's why, even though I was playing professionally and I was a good solid rock player already, I sought out a local guitar teacher, Ron Pritchett, and he started me on lesson 1 of the Oahu, notes on the treble string.
Yeah.
But so it really started at lesson 1. I think it went to 80. I stayed with Ron quite a while, but he clearly saw that I could play, and he was a big jazz guy. So he was into Barney Kessel, and Joe Pass, and just all the great, 50s and 60s straight ahead guys. So he started loaning me these records, and he'd write out the chords to a jazz standard every week, along with the basic reading. He started teaching me about some jazz stuff, and there's where the journey really started. Because I had the rock and roll going. I was getting my feet with that. But then it's okay. I got some reading going on. Now I'm learning about jazz, and of course Larry, probably from Lukather, probably being influenced by Carlton, was getting some of that jazz stuff, right? Mm-hmm. And that, of course, leads you to Wes Montgomery, and then eventually, Mike Stern comes on the scene. I went, there it is. That's the guy that he's playing Hendrix, blues, rock, but there's Charlie Parker, So, but then when I started college, right after high school, kept playing in the rock band 3 nights a week, still studying jazz and learning how to read. The local college offered classical guitar as a major. Knew nothing about classical guitar, but it's guitar. Mom wants me to go to college. Keep her happy, and I'll learn about classical music. And I knew nothing about classical music. To audition, I was going to the library and checking out Segovia and Julian Bream and John Williams records. But the piece I auditioned on was "Mood for a Day" by Steve Howe, which it was on nylon string, but kind of a bastardized flamenco, kind of classical. And I auditioned on an electric guitar. I had a bolt-on Les Paul, bolt-on neck Les Paul Electra guitar.
Wow.
I got in somehow. I guess they saw that I could play, but so I through my dad's help, I got a $300 Japanese nylon string guitar. And now I'm a classical major. But it was beautiful. I learned so much just being exposed to some music. My classical knowledge was all Bugs Bunny, Ba-da-da-da-da, ba-da-da-da-da. Or Barber of Seville, all the references they would have.
Right.
Oh, I know that piece. Yeah, Bugs Bunny. Right. sad admissions, but it's true. So it was another part of my education. And so what all this was doing, I guess, some credit to myself for realizing that I needed to diversify. That became paramount in everything about my career to follow, because I could literally go wherever I had an opportunity.
Right.
I mean, if you think about Simon Phillips and Olivia Newton-John, I don't think you're going to find two more diametrically opposed styles of music, but I will say equally challenging.
Right.
You would think with Simon, with, as he would call adult chords, a very advanced harmony and challenging time signatures, to play Olivia's music authentically and beautifully. I think there's a lot more fusion players than there are people that could do that well. I don't say that to pat myself on the back, though that's exactly what I'm doing. But I'm being very, very sincere in that I treat each of those gigs and any gig equally. It's every gig is your most important gig. And if you want to talk about, things that by applying that exact work, exactly that exact work ethic and basic respect, I came into the first tour I did with Olivia, which would have been 2000. I got brought in at the very last minute. She had a tour book. She had retired for many years because she had cancer and survived. She's just getting through her third bout of cancer, and I'm happy to say that she's doing very well. She's a very gracious and tough lady, but she's doing great. But I got hired in. It was an Australian band. It was the John Farnham band that had backed her up on a couple of gigs she did. She thought, well, I kind of enjoy this again. Maybe I'll do a tour. And so they were going to bring the Australian band over, but the second guitar player in the band was Brett Garza. You probably know Brett because he's an incredible fusion, brilliant guitar player. But he couldn't do the gig, so management put out feelers. And Olivia was managed by the same management as Toto, Fitzgerald Hartley. So Simon rings me up, Andy, do you fancy playing with Olivia Newton-John? But he'd seen my work ethic. He knew that he could very confidently recommend me for any gig. So the tour was coming quickly, and nobody had sent me like a set list or so I went and I before you could download stuff, I went out and bought every record, learned all the hits, and I knew a majority of the songs just internally because they were all huge hits. But she started in country, went to pop and rock, and so I got to that gig. I finally got a board tape of a live gig that didn't sound very good, but I was like, even by the time I got that, so I got the parts from the record. I had it together. So we went in, and they had 3 days booked for rehearsal. End of the first day, everybody's like standing around going, "Okay, we got this, right?" But management and Olivia saw that. Says, "Well, okay, for the next tour, maybe we don't bring the Australian band over. Let's make this guy the music director." And so that's it. So I even say, I tell young players or any players that when you show up at the gig at the local pub, and you've got tunes you need to learn or whatever, man, treat it like it's the most important gig, out of respect for yourself. Because I mean that pressure's always on myself, no matter what. I want to do well. I don't want to be the weak link. I want to give myself I want to give the other players that respect. I want to give the music that respect. And so all that adds up to just that idea of I need to diversify. And it wasn't tough because anything with guitar in it turned out I'm in love with it. If it's a great player playing in a great style on a great song, why wouldn't I want to play like Ray Flack or Albert Lee or anything with guitar? I was just like, how the hell are they doing that? And I'm still that way. I just
Oh yeah. No, I'd love to deconstruct how you've got that confidence to kind of to just go straight ahead. A lot of people, they have fear of success. Just like, if I am given that position, am I going to be able to handle it? But you
that's interesting.
You went all in. There must have been some good parenting or something behind that.
My parents split when I was 5, so I was mainly raised by my mother.
Okay,
I would credit her for most of my work ethic and for she did instill in me. I will say, she's long now passed. She's deceased since 2012, I think. It's been a while. But she lived a pretty good life. She made it to 80, 82 maybe. But again, she seeing her youngest son in a room full. I mean, I had Kiss pictures on all four walls. A beer can collection, which I didn't have any aspirations to drink beer, but collecting beer cans was something you could do because you just went out into the woods or where, oh, look at this can from 1950 or what. You know, a stack of beer cans and playing guitar all day. And I mean, you know, she must have thought, what the heck is my kid going to turn into? But she never discouraged me. She only said that whatever it is you want to do in your life, you decide and go for it 100%. And, you know, again, along the way, I would be a little bit more self-deprecating about, you know, well, I had somebody once ask me about the Danger Danger gig. Well, how'd you get the gig in Danger Danger? I was like, oh man, I guess I just got lucky. Which would have been my normal kind of, you know, self-deprecating, humble kind of thing. But he like turned right around and said, no, you didn't. You worked your ass off your whole life. And when you got the opportunity, you were ready.
That's right.
And so after that, I changed my answer, you know, and I would tell that story of like, okay, yes, there was some good fortune involved by, you know, it was just a random recommendation of somebody that knew somebody that this band was looking for a guitar player, you know. But it was the fact that, but when that opportunity came up, my name was floating around, you know, and how was that? Well, I worked my ass off my whole life and was kind of ready, right? So,
right.
But it's interesting you say that about fear of success, because I can also see some of that in my career where I might have backed off if I felt things going one way or the other. So it's hard to say. I mean, it's always those, I forget who to attribute the poem to, but it's the road less traveled, that fork in the road. And it's all about those choices, you know. Right when I had the Danger Danger opportunity, I also got offered the gig in Tower of Power. You know, the very famous, you know, kind of funk fusion band.
Yeah.
Because I had a friend that was tenor player. Steve Grove was playing tenor in the band. They're coming through town. Hey, our guitar player's leaving to go with Laura Branigan, of all people. Come sit in, you know. And I went and sat in. I went and bought the records. Learned what I could. Went out. You know, Emilio, the leader of the band, said, "Yeah, man, we dig your playing. You know, why don't you come out to Oakland or wherever they were?" But right at that same time was the Danger Danger. So I saw the Rockstar Fantasy, I think, on one side, or the jazz fusion thing. And what if I'd have chosen? It could have been a whole different career.
Oh yeah.
I think both would have been beautiful no matter what. But the childhood fantasy part of my thing was, you know, that was my music business education. The whole Danger Danger experience, the good, the bad, and the ugly, was my education, and it really informed every decision career-wise after that.
Yeah,
you know?
Tell me about that. Like, let's
well,
go.
I mean, sure, I'm happy to talk about it. It's, you know, again, if I'd had more self-confidence, I might have stuck to my guns and said, nah, because the Andy Timmons band was up and running. But that band was how my name was starting to rise in the Dallas area, because we were starting to play gigs, and we had some original tunes, but we were doing covers. We were doing, you know, Eric Johnson and Satriani and Vi and a lot of Hendrix and Cream. So as the Guitar Hero thing was really not peaking yet, but it was really at its prominence, you know, because Surfing with the Alien was going gangbusters. So this is, you know, 88, 89, 88. So, you know, so we were the local version of that, you know. We were one local reviewer called me the poor man's Eric Johnson. You know, it's that kind of thing. It's like, I'll take it, you know. So that, you know, but there was a local rep for Relativity Records. And I'd sent some tapes out of our first Andy Timmons band instrumental recordings, one of which was on Ear Ecstasy eventually, called It's Getting Better. Anyway, so early stuff, and the first response I got from the Relativity was like, yeah, we've already got Joe and Steve. So, you know, and who could argue, you know, that they're doing just fine with Vi and Satriani. But I guess I was pretty easily discouraged. And so when this opportunity to join this already established band on a major label, I thought this might be my only chance. And you know, who knows, had I not taken that, because certainly that put me on the world stage, but it wasn't necessarily the stage that was my ultimate, you know, the ultimate music in my heart.
Did you have regrets about that?
I think in some ways, and in some ways I'm forever grateful.
Hmm.
You know, the relationships I have with the guys in the band, I will forever treasure. Um, the fact that, yeah, it got me to Japan for the first time and tour the UK and opened for Kiss on
That's
two different
exciting.
tours. So there's memories I'll treasure forever and experiences that I got again about how to conduct the rest of my career. I'll
Mm-hmm.
get to that in a second, but
Mm-hmm.
just getting back to it was a bit out of, okay, it's a good opportunity, but if I'd had more self confidence, maybe I would have just stuck to my guns and continued on that path. But I thought, well, do this, and I can always come back. And I throughout the whatever it was, 3 or 4 years in Danger, I still maintained the Andy Timmons band, and that's actually how the Ear Ecstasy record got recorded. It was off time from Danger.
Mm.
I'd come back to Dallas when I could and record what I thought were demos with my band. And at a point, I had enough tunes for a record. I was giving cassettes out to friends. I gave one to Reb Beach from Winger. He had become a friend of mine, and he was just a big supporter of mine too. And I go, yeah, Reb, man, these are my demos, and I want to try to get a record deal when the time's right. He goes, Andy, what are you talking about? This is your record. This sounds great. He's like, and then he was the one that kind of, because I wasn't recording a record. I thought they were demos. It was all just live and and not too much overthinking. And I thought, I don't think I could redo that anyway. Even some tracks were just with a little zoom,
Yeah.
process. Some of the tones are not that great, but there was an energy to it. So
Uh-huh.
so in that and again in that regard, but I suppose the double-edged sword of this is this, in that I would have been as happy to have gotten a call from Miles Davis as I would from Danger.
Mm.
I wanted to be Mike Stern. I wanted to be that, what I aspired to be, like the respected, incredible musician capable of all these things, and just a musician,
Right.
Whereas the stigma attached to what would be dubbed hair bands,
Right.
that's a whole different stigma.
Right.
Whereas, when we finished the second Danger record called Screw It, I sent it to John Styx, if you recall, Guitar for the Practicing Musician.
Yeah.
Great guy, tell it like it is guy, New Yorker, right?
Mm-hmm.
John Styx. He says, yeah, I need to start a new category, best guitar playing on worst record. Because clearly he wasn't a fan of that genre.
Right.
He wasn't a fan of, and some of the lyrics were very sexually, suggestive, and that's where Steve West, the lyricist, that's where a lot of his experiences were. So I mean, that's what he was writing about. He also wrote some incredible, non-strip club tunes, I would call them. There's some beautiful music along the way, and he knows that I say this in interviews, so this is no shock to him.
Mm-hmm.
But that was because of the real me and the real player and the real musician and the real human being aspired to a much different, just a much different type of ethos and music, right? So that being said, but that's, I grew up, I'm foundationally a rock player, right? So, Kiss is not that far removed from Danger. Their lyrics might, in that same kind of thing, and I still enjoy that music. This is a funny story. My son Alex is just now 16. He's got this. He's got his first vehicle is a big truck, right? Because that's his thing, right? So he's been a rap guy primarily, and so I'm not a big rap guy, but he'll turn me on. I got into the Post Malone thing quite a bit. I actually like that last record a lot. But he has a buddy that was into Slipknot and Pantera,
right?
Which now Pantera, I knew Dime and Vinny, and because we're from the same area and just sweethearts. So I've always been a fan and love their music, though it's not what I listen to every day.
Right.
But I didn't know Slipknot at all. Like I knew not one song of Slipknot, and so we're in this truck and it's got a good sound system, and so he's driving me around now, right? So and he starts cranking up the Slipknot, and this is really great. This is really great, and I'm digging the heck out of it because I dig it because there's good melody involved, and there's this obviously the raging heavy metal stuff, which it sounds great. And then this Pantera song comes on, and there's a song on the Danger record called Cockroach, called Still Kicking. It had kind of a similar, because that was us trying to be heavy, right?
Right.
So I said, Alex, check this out. I put on Still Kicking, and for the listeners out there that haven't heard it, check it out. It's in fact, it's Reb Beach and I trading solos.
Oh, nice.
and it's a good heavy riff, right? So I turned it on. He's over there going, yeah, this is. I was just waiting for the moment where he would dig something, because he hears my instrumental stuff all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I think now finally he's come to the realization that people, there's a certain level of respect I have out in the guitar community, and he sees me even locally being treated, like a thriving rock star, I guess. But for me to be able to put on a piece of music that he finally thought was pretty cool, that was a good dad moment. But I'm kind of rambling here. But okay, so getting back on track, it was so that there was so many blessings, and the real takeaway from that.
Mm-hmm.
At that time, I saw things, when we'd be at meetings at Epic Records,
Mm-hmm.
Black Rock, the famous, the old CBS building. We were in a meeting one day and we were talking to the president and vice president of Epic Records. And, I think maybe Screw It was about to come out and they were promising us the moon. You guys get out there and you do the tour day. We're going to back you. We're going to blah, 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 blah. And the secretary comes in and asks the president of the label, asked her, hey, what about this certain band? Don't worry about them. And I knew in that instant that all the lives, the people in that band, everybody connected with them, were just affected in a very major way. And I went, it was just over and over. I was being reminded that the musician and the artist were the low men on the totem pole. It was just another corporate thing, right? Okay, it's a business. I understand it now more than ever. But at the same time, I said, this is not why I do what I do. Right. And then, so those moments really were sinking in, like, oh, wow, has nothing to do with my fantasy or with my love of music. This has zero to do with it. And then we recorded, I mentioned the record Cockroach. It was the record that was going to follow up Screw It. And things were changing. MTV weren't playing bands of our genre anymore. There was more about Seattle and rap, and I think that was a very healthy,
and all that.
It was a grunge. It was a very, very, very healthy trend change, I think. But the bottom line is that even though we made what I thought was our best record, at that point, even in the A&R guy when we turned in the record was jumping up and down. You guys are saving my job. This record is great, but it was just too late. We were chasing the tail of a genre that had just already kind of reached its peak, and it was what it was. But the bottom line is that then there was turmoil in the band. The singer had issues with Bruno and Steve, who were the songwriters, and they started the band. It was their baby. They pretty much controlled the purse strings, and people weren't earning the same money, so that causes issues along the way.
Always. Yeah.
So Ted was always unhappy about that, and eventually, quit the band, sued the label. It was a mess.
Wow.
Initially, the label was like, well, okay, we'll get a new singer and redo the record. So Paul Lane came in, a great singer from Vancouver, who we were a fan of. He had a record produced by the guy that did Bon Jovi records. He long passed away. It'll come later. Produced the New Jersey record, if you know it. Anyway, we loved his record. So he joined the band, re-sang the record, great. But by then, there was lawsuits and the trends were changing. So they dropped the band. Okay, can we have our record? Well, it'll cost you this absorbent amount of money. And there it was. Why would you ever work so hard on something that doesn't belong to you? So, I mean, now it's a different story. We're not tied, again, as you know, to the labels. But back then, that was kind of. So I went back to Texas, and I thought, I have no desire to ever be on a label. I'm going to release my record. By then, technology was there as far as you can have your CD pressed. I mean, you could always do that. Back in Taylor Bay, we pressed an album. You could do that. Get your CD pressed, and Hughes and Kettner, which was a company I was endorsing, their direct recording two men. Hey, we want to do an ad with you. Great. Will you put an ad for my record in the corner? Send in blah 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 and buy it. So yeah, they agreed to do it. And I started selling some records like that. But then the label that we were on in Japan, Double O Records, part of Sony, the woman over there, why didn't you send me your record? We want to put it out. So then I started licensing the music to different labels.
There you go.
It wasn't so there. I can record what I want, with the blessing of a band and a recording engineer that were willing and helpful, and so costs weren't exorbitant. I was able to do it and somehow get the music out there.
Right.
It wasn't until Steve Vai came along with his Favored Nations label that something made sense. I went out to a G3 gig. They had invited me to come play, and Steve said, "Hey, after the gig, he said, man, I'm starting this label, and you're one of the first guys I want to ask to be on it." And I'm like, wow. And then when I saw the way he was setting it up, of course, because he's a lifelong musician, it was a 50-50 split between artist and label.
Perfect sense.
After expenses, whatever expenses for promotion, et cetera, after that's recouped, you guys are 50-50 partners. Now, well, that makes sense. Okay.
Yeah.
And he says, you maintain ownership, we just license it. And then as more and more platforms became available for digital distribution by 2011 with Sgt. Pepper Records, says, I could still put it out like we've always done, or you could just form your own label and I'll just distribute it through, his distributor.
Wow.
Further helping me out.
Yeah, it's amazing.
His suggestions could have been more selfish, but no, he was always there with advice and helpfulness,
Yeah.
And I love the guy for it. I always talk about him as the guy with both sides of the brain are firing equally. He's got this creative genius, but he's a business genius, So it's like an older brother that, I look up to greatly. Both music.
Yeah. No, I'd love to have him on here. There's definitely stuff I want to talk to him about.
Well, as far as a thriving rock star, there's your poster child right there.
Oh, he has some very particular things that I would ask him about. I mean, I know he fasts, and and
sure. There's an entire lifestyle. So I've
yeah
massive respect for him. But my favorite thing about Steve is I can make him laugh. we have such a. I just likes my goofy sense of humor and stuff. So we laugh a lot when we're together, and have some wonderful, musical dialogue. So he's a treasure, man. I've been very fortunate to be around him. And
so Andy, like one of the things you mentioned there is like basically you took over leverage, right? Like
that's true.
You started to have leverage. First the label had leverage, and this is more of a general statement too, right? Like, and then then the artists started to have more leverage, and more, especially with the whole upcoming thing that happened with social media, years later, where I sat in on a workshop with Tosin Abasi, right?
Okay, cool.
And Tosin was talking about how to make leverage, how to have leverage for your band or for yourself. And that like he basically got to call the shots. He got to tell the managers what they're getting paid, and you know what I'm saying?
Wow, nice.
Yeah, because when you invest the time to build yourself up directly with your audience, then the other companies need to buy through you.
Interesting. That's and I'm so happy and proud for him to be in that position. I know they've worked so hard for that. So that's so awesome.
Yeah, it is.
I could learn from him. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm still in saying that I'm still not my best self-advocate. I still have a hard time asking for what I want, and I still don't have management. It's an interesting thing. But that's just my personality. I'm just
sure.
I don't want to rock the boat too much, but I'm also realized I have to, in situations, I have to understand my value.
Right.
And I am learning more and more, but that's something that's never been my strong suit. So when I see Steve and I hear about somebody like Tosin that clearly has that gift and that ability, I admire that, and I do my best to learn from those people.
Yeah. I feel like that. We just need to look at the tools. The tools are changing constantly.
They are every day. Absolutely.
Yeah, and we can't be too absent to them, and we sort of we need to kind of stay engaged with them. You see, there's a whole live streaming thing, especially right now. Everyone's live streaming right now.
Well, they are, because that's all we got.
Yeah.
I tell you, I did my first one on stage last week.
Yeah.
Wasn't sure how it was going to go. I was fairly comfortable because I do clinics where I got backing tracks, and I have no trouble having a screen dialogue, I suppose. So I was blown away and what I didn't realize, when you set up a show and stage it, you can limit the amount of spaces. You can limit it. I think it was preset to 50, right? Which I thought, well, that's nice. If I get 50 people, that'd be great. Well, it sold out. Even though they make it like it's like pay what you want. You can get a ticket for $350 or nothing or whatever it is.
Right.
So that's beautiful. I love that, because if people don't want to pay, they don't have to. Great. If you want to come hang out. So, but then I upset a lot of people. Again, good problem to have, that they wanted to check it out, but they couldn't. So now I'm going to do, I got hip to the platform from, there's a guy, Jarrett Reddick. He's in a band called Bowling for Soup. They're like a cool Cheap Trick rock pop band. Really clever, funny lyrics. Just a good party band, awesome. But I'm friends with him on Facebook, and I saw him promoting these staging gigs, and I was already thinking, like, I need to figure this out. How do I do this? So I just reached out to him, and he gave me a call that night and said, hey, man, yeah, I'll show you what I know. He'd been doing it since 2009. And I don't, again, it's not polite
That's early.
To disclose financial whatever, but I get the feeling he's made a darn good living just from that.
Oh, yeah.
As well as his touring and everything. So he seems like he's very entrepreneurial. Ooh, I said it good.
Yeah. I'm going to take that and I'm going to cut it into each one.
please, entrepreneurial. I'll give you a few so you can cut in the best one. I love it when I have trouble eloquently speaking. I love to try to get that together. Anyway, so he was brilliant, and I've seen now that he's got all these projects, and he's been one of these guys that's been great at this. And so I was very fortunate to reach out to the right guy. Here the platform's easy to do, and the guy that runs the company is real accessible if you got any questions. And I've emailed the guy a few times, bam, gets right back to him. So now and I saw that Jarrett was doing 2 shows a day. I'm like, that's ambitious, but he said, yeah, do one at 2 in the afternoon because of other time zones.
Sure.
It's in the evening for Europe.
Right.
And then do one in the evening for domestic. Okay, great. Because that was the thing too. I did mine at noon. I'm not sure why I chose noon, but there's still people that work, obviously. Not many people can get out, but so I'm going to do 2 on Saturday. So I got 2 coming up this Saturday, and there was a little bit of, people they can tip you. It's a kind of an interesting system. They make it very easy to, if they're inclined, they can show their appreciation. And even though that, again, it kind of feels weird, but at the same time, it's like, well, my entire April and May in Europe got canceled, so this is a beautiful way for me to still play, connect in a much more direct fashion, because I'm seeing their comments, and they're requesting, and they're asking questions. And so the format limits you to, it's a 30-minute set, but then they tack on a 20-minute encore, so it's 50 minutes. So it's a pretty good set length. You can get several good tunes in and have a dialogue, and I enjoyed the heck out of it. And I could tell from the responses that they were digging it too. I think people, like you said, they're really enjoying that directness, and people have time.
Yeah. And for musicians right now, right? Just musicians who are in this position, who are home right now. It's like you said, you're learning right now, you're practicing.
Yeah,
absolutely. That's a really good thing to do. I put out a video recently saying, and of course it's a clickbait title because that's what works. It's like, I wrote, being a great musician will not make you successful, right? And then I go on to break.
Great. I want to see that video.
Oh, okay. So
send me a link later.
I'll send you a link. So the idea is that, like, you need to learn these other skills that are important today, right?
Exactly.
Like ask yourself, what have you been putting off that can take you to the next level, that that if you had mastered, that you can really kind of step up your game. And so that could be like, whether it's social media, or it could be something, something like that seemingly unrelated, but now, you have this time. Yes, you can practice more and become a better musician fast, or you can, invest some of that time you would have been at work or wherever else into something that's really gonna, get you to the next level. So.
That's wise words. Yeah. Well, you can still be a great musician, but.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Your point is well taken, and I'm hearing that going, Alex is right. I'm learning. You know what I mean? Yeah, I am. I'm excited, and it's not just it's not the pandemic that's inspired this, but it was actually. I'll tell a quick story about. Really getting back into practicing. This was a thing where and this is a good support of the idea that just a thought can change your life. Just a thought. And so here's the thought that happened. I'd found out, and this goes back, I want to say 7 years ago now, maybe 6. So my chronological memory is not great. but all these camps are happening. You know, I've done a couple with Steve Vai and Paul Gilbert,
Yeah.
and it gives people a chance from all over the world to get together
I was
and
going to talk about that. That's a
and
really
hang
cool
with some
thing.
of their favorite musicians, and those things are just a blast, and I
Mm-hmm.
love them so much. Well, Pat Metheny was going to do one, right? And
Mm-hmm.
Pat's a huge hero of mine, and really sets a benchmark in so many ways, you know, improvisationally, compositionally,
Mm-hmm.
sonically.
Sure.
But he's also kind of known to be not very impressed with many. You know, speaking, you know, bluntly, but that I mean, and why? I mean, yeah, he's got a very high level of what accepts as, you know, high level for him, and I respect that. So I had this thought, and it was a guy putting on the workshop that I had done workshops for in the past. So I thought, well, I can't afford, you know, it was a price tag that I couldn't just shell out the money for. Oh, maybe I can barter. Hey, man, I'll do some workshops for you if I could just come to the Metheny thing. Oh, yeah, we can work that out. I'm like, great. So instant joy turned into instant fear. And why am I fearful? Well, because if I have the opportunity to play in front of my hero that I know is not impressed with very many, I don't have my shit together nearly as much as I should, especially in jazz. It was one of those things where at one point, you know, when I was in school, I eventually went to the University of Miami. It was a jazz major. After my 2 years of classical study, I transferred because classical was great, but, you know, I'd heard about Metheny had gone to UM,
Mm-hmm.
Jocko, the Dregs formed there.
Oh
That's
yeah.
what classical. I love you, but I'm an electric guitar player. So I very fortunately was able, through a mail audition, I somehow got in, you know,
Wow.
on a cassette tape. I couldn't afford to go down to audition. Got in. So during that time, I was surrounded by incredible jazz players. I was the rock guy. I was very respected because all the jazzers wanted to be able to play the way I played, and I wanted to be able to play how they play. So we all learned from each other. It was just a great time in my life, and I was playing in a cover band 6 nights a week. I was exploding with growth because I was for the first time put around a bunch of people that kicked my ass completely, and that's where you want to be. You want people that are gonna, you know, inspire. Either you're gonna quit or you're gonna work your ass off. And
Oh yeah.
luckily I chose the latter. And so, but so at one point I thought, I didn't become a great jazz player, but I was doing it on a regular basis. I was practicing. I was happy because I was growing. Well, okay, then life happens, career happens. I'm not the same practicing younger guy in college. And so I'm always playing, but it's more like I'm writing, or my practice ethic was never great.
Mm.
I played a lot, but it wasn't. And and so when it comes time for this Metheny opportunity, I just self-examined what I am nowhere near even where I was. I
Mm.
just felt like I would hear myself play in certain ways and just be very let down and unhappy, you know.
Mm.
So I decided, well, I want to go to this thing.
Mm-hmm.
By gosh, I have an opportunity. I need to start practicing. So I started after that this wonderful app called the iReal Book, where
Uh-huh.
you can dial up a standard, play at any key, any tempo, any
Oh,
feel.
that's cool.
And local buddy of mine, Nick Knurk, hey man, let's pick a different standard every week. Jazz Standard of the Week Club, okay, me and you.
Oh, that's cool.
Let's get together, because that's the way it was when I was in Miami. You know, gigging 6 nights a week in school, you know, all day around great players, learning. And if that wasn't happening, hey man, what are you doing? Let's go play. Let's go sit. We've got a practice room we can go and sit, and we play tunes. And so I started to get back into that mindset. I got up first thing every morning, try not to turn on the computer, even though I got the computer on. But I put the app on and I'd play for at least an hour. I play one song and just play.
Mm.
And it was hard because it's hard to hear yourself suck. But it's day after day getting together with my buddy.
Right.
So this is happening. The guy putting on the workshops, for lack of a better term, goes bankrupt. Things are dodgy. So the thing didn't happen. I didn't get to go to this thing.
Mm.
But along this path, I found myself becoming a little happier.
Mm.
And so I'm still on the path now. And it was kind of that realization, well, this is what makes me happy.
Right.
This I'm honoring whatever gift I have. I have to honor in the best ways that I can. And I wasn't doing that, I think, for a long time. And the fact was I just wasn't learning enough. I got comfortable. I was challenging myself. And like, if you think of the Resolution record, that was a challenge. That was a challenge in a unique way. And it was a great challenge, and it changed the way I play. So that was one level of growth. But this was a different thing. This was, the jazz thing is like, most players that casual listeners might hear me play, they might never realize the huge part that jazz is in what I do. But it's just the overall knowledge and the melodic voice leading that you're more or less encouraged, not forced, but it's handy to be able to voice lead through chord changes.
Sure.
So I treat rock tunes in that way. I'm not just playing scales and rarely think of things as scalar. I'm thinking chord to chord.
Oh yeah.
And being very aware of what note is going to sound like what over each chord. So that all that informs the way I think melodically, the way I hear melodically, the way I write. So it's all there whether the listener's aware of it or not. And the more that I was going back and getting into that mindset and that work ethic of the student,
right,
there's the happiness, there's the joy, there's a lot less depression, to be honest.
And it's not even having learned it. It's probably just the process of learning it.
It's the process. I just released a jazz video the other day for the very first time, like me playing a medium tempo swing version of Autumn Leaves.
Yeah, I actually heard it. Yeah.
and I listened to it, and okay, I'll say this. The other part about the jazz thing is like there's a certain way you can go about jazz. A lot of that can be, there's a vocabulary. There's I don't have a particular clean sense of it, but there's you can learn all the Charlie Parker licks, you can learn all the West licks, all the Barney Kessel, and that's a very valid way of accumulating things to say. Or there's Chet Baker, and for me, Chet was the one guy, and West to a degree as well, where I always felt like they were really playing in the moment. They were really playing not just licks. There's always going to be licks because there's sentences we might have said before.
Sure.
I might communicate in a certain way. So I'll tell a certain story using similar verbiage, but I'm going to change the way I'm saying it.
Yeah.
I'm going to say it different. But Chet always struck me as melody, genuine melody in the moment. I don't hear repetition of exact phrases from him. So that was my aspiration. I could learn those licks, and I have them. I have some. But I want to be more like I am in my rock playing, where it's not all that. It's a lot of in the moment melody, whether it's compositionally or improvisation. The great Bill Evans said, improvisation is a minute's music in a minute's time. It's happening now, whereas a composition is a minute's music. It could take a year. And each one being exactly valid, but it's the point of. I want it to be a composition, whether it's something I've agonized and worked on, or it's happening in the moment. So when I listen back, the way we did that video is I imported the iReal book bass line and click on 2 and 4 into Logic. So then I played my George Benson guitar. It took a long time getting that sound, by the way. Got what I thought was a really nice jazz tone. Played the track. Okay, now send it to the drummer and bass player. They can play to that. Then I'll recut my guitar. I didn't recut it. I was like, I like this. And they played really well to it. But when I listened back, I went, I'm not hearing very many licks. I will say I enjoyed hearing, even though I heard all the stuff that needs to improve. I heard all the bits that, I wish this. But the morning before that, I'd sat and shedded all my minor 6 arpeggios. And so there were some things available to me that hadn't been available 2 days before that. And I was able to capture it in a performance. Now, sitting here right now, I probably wouldn't play as well as I did on that video.
Right.
Because I've been busy with some other projects. But all this to say was, the only thing that happened was I thought, I'm afraid to play in front of Pat Metheny. That's the thought. It changed my life. It's like, it's a pretty amazing thing how sometimes it's just that decision. It's that thought of like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to play guitar. This is my life. Even though that was kind of a gradual decision, but but sometimes it's that, I'm going to choose Danger, Danger. Oh, I'm going to choose Tower of Power. Or whatever opportunity. But sometimes it's just, oh, I'm gonna stop eating sugar.
Yeah.
I'm gonna work out more. Sometimes you have to get to a point, and it's that thing about, you know Tony Robbins, right?
Of course.
Okay.
Yeah.
I bought that cassette tape program right when Danger was falling apart.
Oh, really?
Changed my life. I learned so much. What he did was so brilliant, because he did a greatest hits of all the self-help psychology. He took from every great program that he went through, and he just did, here you go, in his very energetic, passionate way. And it's not, obviously I'm one of probably, maybe, I don't know if it's a million now or not, but one of thousands of people that changed their lives.
Oh yeah.
It's one of those things where
I think it really is in the millions with him.
it probably is. And it's one of those things where, okay, you can buy as many self-help books, or you can buy as many instructional videos as you want, but unless you do it.
Right.
So, but he made it very easy to little assignments, little chunks along the way. And before you knew it, you develop this thing. And like one of his analogies, well, you just don't go to the gym once.
Right.
It's like, oh, okay, I'm in shape now. So I did the program, several times over the years. Or his great analogy was, I bought a piano. Got it to the house, and this is going to be great. Guy came over to tune the piano. Went, man, thank you. That sounds great. Yeah, okay, I'll be back in a week. Well, what do you mean? Well, it's been in this other way for so long. It's going to want to go back. So you have to keep tuning it. You like when you tune with if your tremolos.
Yep.
It's been in this way for so long that one time doesn't do it. You got to keep.
Right.
You got to keep. It's a great analogy, right? You got to keep tuning it. So. Anyway, so that we're going down too many paths.
No. You know what? You hit on a few things there. So I mean, as far as like fitness and stuff, right?
Yeah.
Do you have a workout routine?
I did up until the pandemic hit. I got very sick.
Like you thought you had it.
I think I did, and we'll call it presumptive positive, because when I had it, whatever it was, the tests weren't available, and or if they were, it was only for the emergency room, you're dying, which is still that way in some cities, believe it or not. We'll not touch that subject for now. So, but I went to the doctor, got tested for flu and strep, and both were negative. So the symptoms were definitely congruent with what they were saying were the symptoms. Luckily, it had me in bed for several days, but it wasn't like massively severe. The fever was 101 at the top. Dry cough that still exists. My lungs aren't capacity for sure, and they're saying that could be a possible. So I want to get. There's apparently a test that you will be able to take to let you know if you had it or not.
Yeah,
I've heard about it. There was a city that was going to implement it for the whole town. So I'm looking forward to being able to be tested, because I think it's going to be important to know if we've had it or not. I don't know if that makes you immune.
Yeah.
I'm not sure it makes you immune. But it will inform me to what's, because I get winded very easily, and I'm still coughing. So I feel way better. I'm functioning. Things are great. But what we were about to talk about.
Your workout.
Oh yeah, but my son and I joined a local community-run gym here in McKinney. It's a beautiful, brand new facility. So we were going 4 times a week. I get on I have back issues, so I can really only do the recumbent bike. Even the Peloton and stair steps, that is too much for me. But it gives me a good aerobic workout, and then I do really lightweight machines, because I have to be careful with my wrists.
Okay.
But yeah, man, my upper body was getting kind of in shape for the first time in years, and so I look forward to getting back on that. But we eat generally pretty healthy, but there's fast food involved, because I have the excuse of a young son. So there's some choices that could improve for sure. But before all that, things were really, really good. So I look forward to getting back to that.
When you're on tour, how do you eat on tour?
Well, the blessing, when I'm with the Andy Timmons band, the blessing is my drummer's vegan. And so my bass player Mike and I tend to make way better decisions when we're with a vegan drummer, right? So, because Mike and I we're omnivorous, and we're,
Sure.
But that being said, we still opt for healthier in general.
Right.
We're not McDonald's guys. We're not all that. But it's beautiful, because when we'd be touring, especially in the States, he's got that Purple Cow app, and you can find locally. Here's some vegan friendly places. So it'll take us to places that we never would have gone to. They end up these wonderful culinary adventures. But
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
it's so important, man, because especially the older you get, I'm 57 now, so yeah, you feel that, man. If you're eating the wrong thing, there's just you don't have a chance.
Yeah.
You got to eat light. And I can never. The really hard thing is always I can't eat much before I play because I don't want
Hmm.
that issue there. But then you get done playing, and after all the meet and greets and all that, it's okay. What are you going to eat at midnight? What's good now, right before you lay down? So it is a chance. It's always the challenge. Laundry and when to eat.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
always the hardest part about touring.
It's funny because like Neil Morris, he was on the show, and
Yeah, I'm a big fan.
yeah, he's awesome. And he was telling me like the hardest thing is like the after show pizza because the other
Oh, dude. Yeah, we say no, man. We try to just say, man, could you get some at least some salads and
You're right, and he's like, like I have a second slice, but without the crust. It's
You
just the cheese.
just the cheese. You know what I saw? I got it. That reminds me. My wife and I were at a local Mexican restaurant. Or I mean, that's probably our Achilles heel because man, I cannot be trusted around chips, right? But we're going and we're hanging out. I think we get some tortilla soup and I gotta admittedly this thing looked awesome. It was just a plate of melted cheese with some stuff on it, and it was a plate of cheese with just all the accoutrements and condiments of
Right. I like how you
Mexican
call
dish.
it's mostly cheese, and then
It was
cheese.
exactly. I said so. I had wait. I'm dying. I had to ask the waiter. I said, "What was that? Oh, that was nachos without the chips." Just, I guess they were low carb. And it was the funniest exercise of no carbs I'd ever seen. It's just melt the cheese on the plate with some lettuce and some jalapenos. It was
That's great.
anyway. It looked awesome because cheese. Anyway,
Yeah.
yeah. So anyway, we do the best we can, but we could do better. Just insert that into every situation. Right? We're doing the best we can, but we could do better.
Oh yeah.
You
I mean,
know?
I've had people of all kinds of different dietary practices on this
Yeah.
show. I've had like several vegans. The drummer of Haken,
Right.
several guys
Right.
in Haken are
Right.
vegan.
Nice.
Yeah.
It makes sense, man. My wife and I went veggie for a while. I
Hmm.
went when Linda McCartney passed away. So this is going back to maybe the late '90s.
Hmm.
As a tribute to Linda and Paul, we thought let's just go vegetarian for a day because they're big veggie promoting folks, and we thought, well, as a tribute to Linda, let's just do that, and we did it, and it lasted for 7 months.
Wow.
But I would say back then it was a lot more difficult than I think it would be now.
Oh yeah.
Like if we decided to do it now, I think that because we at the end of the 7 months we just weren't feeling as healthy as we maybe could have. But there weren't as many options. There was the Morning Star patties and there's just there are so many delicious options. But I think there's so much more now. And we've got a Whole Foods market near. So when I look at Paul and Ringo, who are both healthy and looking amazing in their late 70s, out touring like they're kids, it's like, well, there must be a beauty to this, and I need to get on it sooner than later.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things. Like you figure out what works good for your body.
Yeah.
One of the best things I heard is just like, you just need to get your nutrients in, right?
Yeah, of course.
And focus on nutrients. I've seen people eat healthy as a vegan, and I've seen people eat healthy as a carnivore.
Yeah, of course.
Like if you're a carnivore, you have to eat the entire animal. You have to eat the liver. You have to eat all these things.
Oh,
Right?
okay. There you go. I got you.
Yeah. So I
Yeah.
mean, like, there's different philosophies, and I
Yeah.
feel like different strokes for different folks. But at the end of the day, it's
Yeah.
like figure out what works for your body and for your
It's a fair
life.
thing. Yeah,
You
right
know,
on.
and you were saying like
Yeah.
you don't want to eat too close to the gig. I hear that a lot.
Yeah, nobody wants to feel like Tommy Tedesco. No offense to Tommy, but he was a large guy. So that's what I always say after I always feel that. I feel like Tommy Tedesco.
Yeah.
My ultimate respect to Tommy. I don't mean that in any disrespectful way. But he liked to eat. The guy liked to eat, man. He did.
Oh yeah, I hear you. I don't like my guitar to be in this position. It compromises my wrists.
Exactly. I am realizing later in life that you see I have a strap on now. Usually
Yeah.
I wouldn't be able to sit with a strap because my guitar would be, I'm afraid to stand up because the mic will come out. But
Uh-huh.
I used to wear the guitar not really low, but I didn't want to wear it too high. But man, it makes so much sense to have it higher.
Oh yeah.
So my guitar now is, like if I let go of it, see, it's
Yeah.
whereas it would have hung a little lower and I wouldn't be able to sit it with a strap because it'd be all loopy over. Anyway,
Sure.
I'm never too late to learn. I'm also learning about now. Mimi Fox turned me on to when I practice now. I have a little pad, like it's like a leather covered pillow
Interesting.
that raises the guitar a bit, because I find myself there's a lot of tension that gathers in my glutes and in my quads,
Mm.
sometimes in the calves as well, because you're lifting your foot up a lot to get
Oh
the
yeah.
guitar,
Oh yeah.
or a footstool. But maybe say, well, yeah, if you have your foot on a footstool, then your whole spine and body is out of balance.
Oh,
So
interesting.
she has this really cool, and I bought a couple of different sizes. So I found a size that works for me. Just it elevates the guitar a little bit, so I can practice
Ah.
without the foot up, and it's helping, because I would get up from practicing in a long session and just be like, old man
Right.
Wiggins, really tight, just all through the glutes and all through. I think I tighten up in general in the lower body, even if I'm standing.
Interesting.
It's just a way, just something that's happened over my life that's been very,
Do you have
you
any
know,
stretching practices?
yeah, no, absolutely. Not something that I wish I did, I wish I did on a consistent level, but just basic, left and right and center, bending over.
Uh-huh.
The
I've had some very interesting guests recently. I've had a yoga for musicians
Oh,
teacher.
wow,
Yeah, this
nice.
this is a thing, and she's like giving these online video. What are they? Well, like doing the live streaming on
Oh,
Instagram.
nice. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
and
Wow, wow.
so people are doing it along with her, and it's just it's really cool.
Yeah, that's
Al- Also like a physical therapist for musicians, like all these
wow.
like health for musicians practitioners are popping
Sure.
up.
It's a very specialized thing. It's
Oh
nice to
yeah.
know that there's now becoming more specialists in the field.
Oh
That's
yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
I need to look that up for sure.
Yeah, and it's very cool. I could link you.
Yeah, please do.
Yeah, but that's very interesting with the footstool, that like raising one foot, yeah, that will throw you out of balance.
I was
I have
gonna
a
say,
footstool right here, and yeah, I can feel it's like a little weird after a while.
so there's a couple of things. There's the I'm calling it a pillow. It's just some kind of pad, for lack of a better term.
Sure.
There's also more of a mechanical type thing where it kind of attaches to the lower bout of your guitar, and it's like you picture a guitar on one of those
Yeah.
Gracie stands. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
But it's like a little thing that put on your thigh, and it does the same. It just it achieves the same thing.
That's interesting.
So there's different ways if you want to look into that, but just start to notice. For me, even right now, because I don't have one of those things or a footstool, I guess I could use my volume pedal.
Mm.
But I'm feeling a lot of tension just sitting here talking to you, because the guitar is in my lap, and so I'm propping it up, because at any
Right.
moment I might need to play, right?
You're right.
Uh,
You gotta always be
but
ready.
yeah, yeah. So I'm trying to I got to figure that out. Yeah.
It's a very interesting thing. Yeah, like you always have to kind of listen to your body.
Oh
Uh,
man.
one thing I talk with, I teach guitar as well, and one of the things that I discuss with students is kind of, I do this thing where I get them to meditate without them knowing they're meditating.
Wow.
And what I have them do, I was like, get them practicing something cyclical, right? Some just
Right.
small exercise that they could kind of play in a loop
Right.
without stopping, right? And
Yeah.
then I'm like, as you play that, just start to bring your attention to different parts of you, right? So
Yeah.
first it's on the fingertips, and
Yeah.
then it's just like pay attention to the hand, right? And then
Yeah.
just like see that, and when you bring your attention there, if there's any tension, you relax it, and you
Wow.
just keep playing, and then you bring your attention to like the arm, and then relax that, bring it to the elbow, and then work your way out, so you scan your entire body while you're
Wow.
playing to see if there's any tension
Wow.
present, right?
That's beautiful.
and
I
and
love that.
I learned that from meditation, right? I've done like meditation retreats and stuff,
Wow.
and so that's something
Yeah.
that like I kind of brought with me in that way. Um,
I gave it a quick try while you were telling
yeah,
me. Um, it's brilliant. And so meditation for me was always so difficult. I couldn't calm the mind. But you're probably familiar with the Effortless Mastery,
yes,
Kenny Werner.
yeah, of course.
Okay, and so that was my first time I was ever able to do it, because it was a guided. He has a wonderful, soothing voice, and
Oh yeah.
he had, I think it came with a CD with 4 different little guided meditations, and
Hmm.
it became my ritual for a while before gigs. I'd sit, if I could get somewhere alone without the distraction, I just put the earbuds in or whatever, and go through that with Kenny. It's exactly that. It's examining and being aware of every part of your body and letting go of that tension. And just he obviously guided it in a very musician type way.
Yeah.
Imagine yourself playing this
Carnegie
beautiful
Hall.
music. Yeah, Carnegie Hall, and everybody you're hearing this beautiful music, and your fingers are flying, and everything's coming up. but why not? And it's not, but going through that, it kind of helped me realize something that I've been doing myself for years.
Mm,
I was always envisioning very positive things, not really realizing what I was doing.
mm,
But I never had the negative, oh, I'm fucking up nightmare thoughts.
right.
It was always, man, I'm playing beautifully and it's going well, or whatever the positive thing was. I think I was subliminally programming myself in a way.
Mm.
But that obviously, I think, is a much deeper way to be able to get in and fine tune. I love that technique that you developed. That's beautiful, man.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like, it's a good way to just find these little hidden tensions that can
Yeah,
really get
no,
away from you, you know?
feeling it again as we speak. It's like, what's up? What's up?
Yeah, yeah. It's
I'm
like
gonna
you
do
feel
some.
something in your foot, you know?
I want to do some stretching. Yeah, but we're sitting here for an hour and a half now, so it's like
Oh, yeah.
it's more common to get up and stretch or be moving or whatever. So
Oh, definitely, definitely. I mean, we're
I'll
not
have to
meant
start.
to
I'll have to
like
start
sit
doing.
still.
I have to do interview stretches now.
Yeah.
Proper interview stretches.
Yeah.
Yeah, why not,
Yeah,
man?
I mean, I feel like as far as a practice is concerned, just that someone can, like a musician can plug themselves into. I think yoga is a great one, just because it really keeps your body free of a lot of tension, and it's strengthening the small supportive muscles around the body, right?
Yeah,
Because like one thing, if we don't strengthen ourselves, if we don't work out adequately, and even if we do in a kind of a dysfunctional way, right?
yeah,
Just
right.
go
Plenty of
lifting
people work
machines.
out incorrectly. Yeah,
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Like, and we get injured and all that. Like Rusty Cooley, I was having a conversation with him about
Oh,
this, and
yeah.
he was talking about he got injured in the shoulder,
Oh,
from well, I mean, he kind of worked hard. He had Lee Labrada as a trainer. You know who that is?
well, I don't, but that's yeah.
The Labrada protein drinks. That guy.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Not.
He's like an Olympian. Like
Oh, okay.
yeah, yeah. But or Mr. Olympia. I don't know if that is Olympian, but whatever. We're getting
I
too
have
far
very
in the
bad
field.
visions of somebody really overly tan and buttered up. So I don't. Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I got you.
you got the point. Yeah, but
That can't be good for guitar though.
oh no, no,
Yeah.
no. But as musicians though, I think we need to be able to kind of work the little muscles around the body so that we can
Yeah.
express ourselves. And
Oh,
you have a
yeah.
dance while you play. Like
Oh, absolutely. Oh, there's no doubt. But there's a lot of and I'm like that too when I play. There tends to be, somebody would mention the way you move on stage, blah blah blah. But if I ever knew that I was doing that or saw myself doing it, I wouldn't be doing any of that 'cause it looks stupid. But I love that. I'm able to just flow with the music, and that
yeah,
you're saying it's a very it can be. There's some people that are very still, and that's okay too. They're conserving their emotion.
hmm.
But I like to feel things, man. I like that. That's what music's supposed to do anyway. For me, I want to feel that sensation in the deepest way.
If we touch back on Tony Robbins and he talks about
Yeah,
like your body, you have to move your body to move yourself emotionally.
yeah. It's the physicality of
Yeah,
change your energy. He talks about his mother. If he was depressed, his mother said, "Well, go take a walk. Go to the park."
right.
Just doing something and that it can help the mind in so many beautiful ways, for sure.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Oh
yeah.
yeah. And so,
So,
to be able to move around freely and, not like run into an injury or something, then it's really good to,
right.
to have
It makes
some
it,
go ahead.
it makes total sense. I'm sorry, I keep talking over you.
That's okay.
It makes total sense. And yeah, the yoga thing, I think I tried a few times because I had a bandmate
Hmm.
that was into it for a while, and he transformed his body. Dane Bryant, who was the keyboard player with me for many years with
Hmm.
Olivia Newton-John, had put on some weight at one point in his life and saw himself in a video one day. He's, who's that? Who's that fat old woman? He said, "Oh my God, it's me." And so he went on this path and got into yoga, and he couldn't be a more lean specimen of a human being. He's transformed his life, and it was largely through yoga. And I tried it with him a few times. And it was hard, man.
Oh, it's not easy.
Yeah, no doubt. So I think I need to get back into it. I see, and I've had people, when I've had back issues, oh man, you need to look into yoga. So I'm hearing you today, and I'm going, this is good. This is good for me. I need to.
Yeah, I had
Okay.
this that yoga for musicians teacher. I had two of them actually at different points.
Cool.
But Brienne Bowden, she had mentioned that. What did you say just now? I was just kind of I lost a little link.
difficulty with the yoga.
Yeah.
My friend
Oh, yeah. So there's
transformed his body.
right. So there's different forms of yoga,
Okay.
and so that people try the yoga and they're like, oh,
Yeah.
yoga's not for me. When in
Right.
fact,
Maybe.
like they might have done some really difficult version or something that's not suited
Yeah.
to them, right?
Right.
Because
Yeah.
like she was saying there's a yoga that's basically just a hard workout, like kind of like
Yeah.
vinyasa, which is like hot yoga and like
Oh, right. Yeah.
constant motion and you're always suspended in some way. And
Yeah.
like the way the yoga that I like when I do yoga is restorative, which is like hold one stretch for like 10 minutes,
Great.
and it's a very
Yeah.
different.
Oh,
You know what I'm
yeah.
saying? So it's a lot more slow moving and really kind of get you stretched out because I lift, and
Oh, okay. Right.
so for
Right.
me
Yeah.
I need something to counterbalance that.
That's great. That's great. Well, I
Yeah.
look forward to maybe checking out some of the yoga for musician stuff. I need to.
Oh yeah.
This will be a good commercial, and I'm buying.
Yeah.
It's like no, yeah, might be a good thing to do while I'm home too. While we're all kind of not able to go to the gym. So
Well, I mean,
now would be a good time, right?
yeah. Well, you listen. You're at home with your
Yeah.
son and your wife,
Yeah.
and like you're building that relationship. I mean, you're not out on the road or anything, and you're just
Yeah.
like
Yeah. Yeah.
really honing in there. So
Yeah.
that's really good.
No, it's been really restorative in a lot of ways.
Mm,
In that, even though when I'm not touring, I work. I'm here. I'm in the studio, and I do local gigs, but it's not my regular mode, right? But Alex is in school, and she's a hair colorist. She works. So selfishly for me, I work better when everybody's home. I just like that feeling of Plus, I even if somebody's not in the room with me, I'm better if I'm not alone completely. I don't know what
mm,
it is about that. I've always thought about that when I see people at Starbucks with their laptops and they'll be like working.
mm.
So why But I tried it one time and I thought I'm getting more done for some reason. I don't know what it was about being just out and around other people. I just felt I don't know.
That's interesting.
Yeah, maybe less distracted with the guitar or something. Maybe I could write better. I could I could answer more emails, or I would work on a piece of whatever
Hmm.
something on the computer that needed attention that maybe I wouldn't get to as much
Do you
because I'm
think it?
I'm always playing.
Do you think it might be a change of environment?
It could be. It could be that. Yeah, it could very well be just getting out of your normal thing. It
Yeah,
could, that makes total sense.
I find spaces have their own energy. Like, if you're
Oh,
used to doing
absolutely.
something in this particular place,
Yeah.
then that's what's going to come to you when you're there.
I started practicing in a different part of the house too, because like I'm sitting to you now, this is very similar to my office situation where you've got your computer, but there's guitar gear
Right.
around. So I'll play and I'll check on an email or a notification will come in. Oh, what's that? So I'm practicing, but so I just started. I have my coffee in the morning, but I go sit in the living room now.
Uh-huh.
There's just a table, a table for my coffee and a guitar, and that pad. I sit with there. Practice is way better. Not
Interesting.
even I can put the app on my phone if I want to play a tune, but it's really just if I want to focus. And I'm like I mentioned in a video recently where I'm working on my minor 2/5 ideas, or
Yeah.
just really getting the minor six, the interchangeability of the minor six, like a G minor. E minor six is also E half diminished, right? So just
Right.
there's always this separation, and I'm always being, okay, what am I doing? Wait, what? So that was just my goal. I'm gonna get this and diminished. I too many blind spots. Let me work on this. And man, it made a huge difference in that autumn leaves thing. Well, okay. And it's because I changed, like I say, changed the environment, just went to a different spot. Well, this is better. Okay. And being able to notice that difference and appreciate it and go, okay, duly noted. Here's where I'll be if I really need to be specific and really honor the intent of what I'm working on.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a very cool thing. That's a very
Yeah.
cool thing. Yeah, I listen, I hope from this whole COVID thing that we learn as individuals and as a society. I think it's bringing the world together. Um,
So many ways.
that's one interesting phenomena that I'm seeing, and that's always the case. Tragedy brings people together. It's unfortunate that it takes that.
It's hugely unfortunate because in this case, there's so many people that are dying.
Yeah.
But it's just, again, on a very selfish personal level, I realize it in my own household. And even in the way that we're conducting our day-to-day stuff, paper goods, food, there's a lot more awareness oh, these are finite commodities. Let's take care of it and treat it as such, you know. So a lot less wastage, just, and then in being out and about, you're more aware of other people and respecting boundaries. And I mean, I've always lived my life in a way. I'm very, you know, I will humbly say that it's the way I treat music. I'm always very aware of everybody around me. That's the way I've always moved around in society. I think about others a lot of times first, but I'm very aware of what will my action, how will that affect anybody else? Driving, opening a door, going in, you know, just very basic things that it's, and this is just kind of fortifying and even enhancing that instinct in myself where, you know, we just got to be respectful and accommodating of each other and to the planet. Obviously, there's where did my thought process go? We're saying that in general, yes, we're gonna come out hopefully more appreciative of what we have and more aware of our impact to each other and the planet. God, I hope so. you know.
Yeah.
Look at all the environmental positive things that have already happened. You've seen the canals in Venice with the fish and the dolphins coming back. The air pollution is dissipated.
Yeah. I heard like, you know, that planet's healing, you know, so.
It is. It's like I've seen pictures of New York and LA where it's like, oh, is there some filter like enhancing? No, it's just fucking clear. It's like in some kind of enhancement program on your app. So no, it's just you can see shit because the pollution's gone.
Yeah, that's an interesting byproduct.
We are going to be safe. We're fortunate to survive and get through this. We're losing so many people, man. It's great. That's the other thing. It's such an equalizer where it's not, this disease doesn't discriminate. It doesn't matter rich, poor, ethnicity, religious beliefs, political leanings. All that goes out the window.
Yeah.
We're all the same. We're all human beings, and we got to respect and treat each other accordingly, man. That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
You know, I feel in a lot of ways I've always acted like that, but, you know, maybe I haven't in some ways, you know. So you got to be open, and then hopefully people will learn. There's some that clearly won't.
Yeah. No, I hear that.
We just got to keep trying, man. We just got to keep trying and try.
Andy,
honor what we feel. Yeah, is the best.
You pointed at something that I just want to pick apart a little bit. That
sure.
you know that seeking to be aware of your surroundings, I think as a musician, is very, very critical. You know, because we can't achieve anything on our own. It's always like, you know, it's the fans, it's the other musicians you play with, it's the business people that you deal with. And so you can't go in this for you alone. You know, it's just like how can this be a win-win or a win-win-win?
Yeah, but I'm not even thinking. You know, I'm not even thinking of it as a victory or a win. I sincerely, you know, appreciate what I have. I love anybody that's ever said a nice thing or comes up to you. I want to treat them like, even if I'm having the shittiest day, I'm going to do my best to be cool and to treat that person with the respect they deserve. Because I've been around plenty of my heroes as a fan or whatever, and generally I've had amazingly positive experiences, but you realize the impact. And that's your one chance sometimes to have. But it's not whether they're a fan or not. It's every human being on the planet. I'm going to treat, as long as I'm not being treated disrespectfully or in any kind of aggressive or violent way, I'm going to treat that person exactly the same. And even now, as people are so diametrically opposed politically and philosophically sometimes, and I might see somebody online and go, oh my God, I can't believe this person thinks or believes that. I'm so sad. I'm so angry. Let that go. I might see that same person, not online, but as a human being coming towards me. And I'm going to treat them with the same respect and love as I would any other human.
Right.
Knowing full well that could be that guy, but I don't care. They're a human being first, and that genuine desire to love that person and for them to love me is there, and being aware of that relationship. So I want all that crap to go away, and for people to just get down to that. But yeah, as far as responding to other your role in any musical situation involving other players, it's paramount that you're aware not only of we tend to be egocentric and how am I doing? How's this? How am I good enough? But it's how that it acts with everybody else.
Right.
And the musicians that are aware of that are the ones that are truly, truly great. I've been on stage with some pretty great musicians that aren't that way.
Right.
You know, you've jammed with a lot of people.
Sure.
Some are more aware than others. You know, and that's it's not to their. I'm not demeaning or saying. I'm just the ones that I really appreciate being with are the ones really listening, and reacting. But it's the same way in life. It's the same way, you know.
I feel like it comes from a painful place if they're not present with you. I feel like they're
maybe.
And I feel like that in general, if someone lashes out in some kind of way, even maliciously, well, it's tough to go through that, and I'm sure you've experienced plenty of it. Now
I did yesterday.
Oh wow.
Well, it was just a personal interaction with somebody that was kind of terse, and I wasn't used to feeling that from this person. And there was a third person in the room, and afterwards, my friend reached out. Yeah, hey, sorry, that seemed a little. And the guy was just he's going through stuff. We're all stressed out. He's stressed out, but it was just an unusual thing, and it took a while for me to let it go. You know, even though I knew, you know, it had nothing to do with me. The guy is in pain. Right. You know, and there's obviously there's people that operate that like that on a daily basis, but it's when you get to the point, and the more you learn about psychology, and having been through some of these programs that study psychology, you realize, well, they're dealing with stuff internally, and it's manifesting itself in that way, and it's unfortunate, but it is internally with them, you know, and it's you want to help them, you know, you want to, but sometimes it's difficult when you're in that exchange moment not to bristle and defend yourself, you know.
Right.
So,
I guess keeping in mind that it's really likely a pain within them that's just kind of manifesting itself, and you know, coming out at you, and so you know, it's the empathy first, I guess, you know, in that circumstance.
Always,
you know,
even though it gets hard.
Yeah.
You know,
it's definitely hard.
You know, because I'm a particularly sensitive cat, so it's good to be at this part of life and have that knowledge. You know what I'm saying? I wish I'd have gone through Tony Robbins when I was 8. You know what I mean? It's just such valuable information that we all need to navigate. We all need to understand ourselves and attempt to understand others. Yes. You know what I mean? But especially just understanding yourself and understanding, oh wow, these feelings I have are, you know, it's this or this or this, and there's so many levels to that to sort through.
Yeah. Listen, as much as,
but also, man, just personal therapy.
Yeah, of
course, just personal therapy. My wife and I both got into, you know, we got into marriage counseling a few years ago, and it was the best decision we ever made, because we got through, you know, we're 23 years in to our marriage, and things went probably too well for a bulk of that. And then when things went wrong a little bit, it's like, oh, well, there's these issues we never discussed. Okay, well, let's address that, right? And even personally too, I've had some major issues along the way with depression and stuff. And so once I got past the stigma of getting help, that was a big thing for me. However I grew up, it was like we didn't talk about issues, my family. We didn't talk about, everything was, you know, put the happy face on and everything's fine, right? So that causes massive problems. So once I got to that point of, you know, seeking out help and was okay with it, man, what a game changer! What a wonderful thing to find the right person to trust and to help you. You know.
Yeah, that's definitely something I ask people if they deal with depression, if they've gotten help.
Yeah. Oh, it's so important. I encourage anybody that deals with that on any level. Mine was severe. You know, if I had dealt with it my whole life and didn't really realize what it was. And so, yeah, there was huge stuff for me to deal with, and it's still ongoing. And I don't think that if that's something that's part of your DNA, it could be DNA, I think, in some ways, because I recognize it in my father and my siblings as well. So something we were all battling and never talked about, right? So yeah, to recognize it and to get the tools that can massively help. I would encourage anybody, but just at least as a society, I think more and more we're becoming more educated. As
Yeah,
far as like just parenting skills, let's just say there's
sure.
so much more information available, and it's less of a stigma now than it was in society in the 50s, 60s, and even 70s and 80s. It's we're growing, man. We're learning.
Yeah, no, you
Hopefully, we
have to.
keep that going, right?
Of course, of course. I
Yeah.
mean, just mentioning Tony Robbins these few times, it's like developing yourself and just learning that you're a work in progress at all points,
Oh,
and in every way,
completely.
and just like,
Same. It.
hmm
Yeah. As a musician and as a human being,
of course,
it's never ending. There's always that room of, okay, I'm on a path and I'm a beginner, but let's keep going. And that's again, like I mentioned earlier, the real joy of making those distinctions along the way, and whether it be a musical idea or just a personal transformative little thing, whether it's, oh man, I'm going to try this musician yoga thing, or I'm going to be aware of where I'm feeling stress, and let's see what we can do to dissipate that. I mean, like I said, I'm 57, and I wish I had known all this at a much younger age, but that's part of the growth, man. It's part of that journey
yeah.
along the way. And it's not all good. It's you got to understand when that deep pain is there. It's like, well, this is for a reason in some way, and I have to acknowledge it, learn from it, and hopefully come out stronger.
I mean, I think that's the main thing. They'll learn from it, and have it. Every negative could be a learning experience. Either like as they say,
Yeah.
either win or you learn, kind of deal. You know.
Wow, there you go. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
That's beautiful, man.
yeah.
And I appreciate all the information. I'm learning a lot here too, so this is good. Always good.
Yeah. So Andy, I don't want to take too much of your time here. Um,
You
you
know what?
know.
This has been a good. It goes
Yeah.
quick when it's comfortable, and you're a
Thank you.
great interviewer, great conversationalist. I hope I didn't talk over you too much. I get excited, and I'm want to verbalize. And that's my second coffee, so that explains some of that.
Oh
But
yeah.
no, great job, man. And thank you. And I look forward to checking out your other teachings and see what you're up to musically. And
Definitely. Thank you.
yeah, enjoy it.
What's one thing you would share with all musicians?
All musicians, well,
Yeah.
just listen. Just listen. Uh, if whatever you're wanting to learn, getting it from a page is one thing, but getting it through your ears is another.
Mm,
There's so much information now available where, it's transcribed for you. It's on my website too. Everything's transcribed in GPX and every possible format tab. But I always think, man, just try to dig it out yourself first. Do the listening,
right.
because it's that connection between, in my course that I did for True Fire called a melodic muse. We explored, where does melody come from? Where does that inspiration come from? And it's, you can think of music intellectually, and you can, that ninth in Cry for You, the E over the D minor. Well, that sounds beautiful because it's tension. It's that ninth. It's, wants to go somewhere. Well, that's correct, and that's an analytical approach. But all right, well, what's the sound? What's the sound? So the Beatles were such great songwriters, not because they went to theory class and learned how to write songs. It goes on. Here's how Chuck Berry did it. Here's how Buddy Holly did it. Here's how Rodgers and Hammerstein did it. No, they learned all those songs through
Right.
their ears. So there's a mental library, and I call that the Auralect. I had to coin a phrase because I didn't see anything out there that was discussing it in that way. Every musical moment that is moved us or inspired us, I think we store these things. At least my personal experience is that I store these things, and I suspect it's that way with these great musicians, these great writers, these improvisers, these songwriters. They're in that moment wanting to create something that they love, and how's that impression been formed? Well, it's everything that's come before them that they've loved, and you hear it in bits. The Beatles are very transparent about it. Oh, that's us just trying to do this Smokey Robinson or this, sometimes verbatim. They would, things either subliminally or not, they're taking from what came before them.
Right.
And so when you're wanting to learn how to write great songs, or you're wanting to learn how to become a great improviser, you can get it from a piece of paper, but you're never really going to truly internalize it unless you're getting it through your ears, because that's the real connection. not thinking, but it's an auralect. It's your
Right.
the mind's ears intelligence.
Right.
That's why auralect. So it's that instinct, and it's what makes every writer and improviser unique, is that their experiences are different.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to emulate Stevie Ray and look at a video, you can do that, but you're just kind of you're mimicking his experiences, which he was doing in a way too. He was taking his Albert King, he was taking his Jimi Hendrix, but it came together as him, and he put it together in a passionate style and delivered it in a way unique completely to him, right?
Right.
So that's the thing. You want to take from as many different things as you can. And like I say, you'd never hear my daily rock playing that Pat Metheny and Wes and Joe Pass and Barney Kessler are huge guys to me, or Larry Carlton specifically, his approach to voice leading and to the way he inflects every note. It's ingrained in me. It may come out differently, but it's what I'm hearing. It's what's in my auralect of here's what I want to hear, sonically, musically. So it's that if you're really wanting to delve into things on a deep level, you have to listen. But that involves the educational part, but also the listening to, like we were talking about, how you interact with other musicians. You have to learn to develop that thing. For me, it happened naturally. Even though it was encouraged by a guitar, there was my classical guitar teacher. I have to give a quick shout out to Ron. His name was Renato Buteri. He was from Milan, Italian guy, the first real worldly man I was ever around. He was in my freshman year of college. Here's this gregarious, just funny Italian man that played beautiful classical guitar, but he was kind of a jazzer too, right? And so there would be some lessons where I would come in a little less than prepared for my, whatever the Soar etude or Segovia this or Bach, whatever I was working on.
Uh-huh.
And he goes, okay. He did this to me a couple times now. Now these days, this is not politically correct or acceptable in the college. But he would turn out the light and say, "Let's just play. We can't see each other. Let's react to each other."
Uh-huh.
He would just play, and I'd play. No key. I can't see my guitar. He can't see. And we'd have these wonderful explorations, and it was very instructive to me, though I didn't realize how huge at the time, but what he was teaching me. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, okay, I'm reacting. I'm not thinking of a scale. I'm not thinking, got to reach. I can't see my instrument. I can use all I have is my ear. Can't see. There's no page in front of me. There's no thought of key. There's no song structure. And so, that ability to recognize what's happening around you, not just you, but what are they playing? How are they playing? What register are they in? How can I let that affect what I'm playing? How about what's a volume knob? How about not playing? Is there a singer? Maybe I'm not needed right now. I've been on plenty of jam stages where there's like 8 guitar players. It's like, I don't need to be, even if there's just 2. It's like, maybe I don't need to play anything. Let's make sure. And that's another thing too, just volume, man. If you're in a band, especially if you're like in that classic jam situation, make sure you can hear the guy that's the feature. Make sure you can hear the soloist.
Right.
If you can't hear him, there was a very recent jam I did, and I was a little pissed off at the end of it. And this is, again, world-class players. Somebody was comping next to me louder than I was playing. I couldn't hear myself. Why are you playing? I was like, dude, amazing, beautiful players. Like, fuck, man. It was just like, okay, this is a very basic thing we all need to be aware of.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's a slight rant and a slant vent, but that is it. It's our ears are our most valuable resource, right?
Definitely.
So.
And be aware of the people around you.
Yeah, I mean, that's life. And so, the one thing about jazz, and it's not everybody listening to this wants, hey, I want to learn jazz. But the people that do, and I was very guilty of this when I was starting. I wanted to be, especially when I heard Mike Stern, I want to be hip. I want to be cool now.
Right.
Well, they didn't get there by just imitating something hip. They had Metheny had the foundation. He could play just like Wes when he was 17, 18 years old. He realized quickly that, okay, I got to stop doing that. Josh Smith is another guy I'll bring up in a second, but Metheny, he got the foundation, and I tried to be too hip too quickly. I should have been getting the building blocks in a more organized way. I'm getting it now. Well, I'm telling you, I'm down there shedding minor six arpeggios. That's what I should have done when I was 16. My teacher even told me, I said, how did he know what to play on these chords? Well, just learn all the chord tones. Oh, okay. I didn't do it, but I could have, and it would have made a difference. But it's the listening. It's the, listen to the modern hip guys, but go back and listen to Charlie Christian. I started getting into Django through a mutual friend, my jazz buddy, Nick. Django's always been there. I always imagine Django, when you are ready, I am waiting. And I got into Django because it was acoustic guitar, so largely acoustic throughout most of his career. It just didn't have the appeal to me. Now when I go back, I go, how the hell did he do it with, he had this crippled third and fourth finger, and he's mainly playing with these two fingers and an occasional, of course he could use all the ninth chords.
Right.
But the things he was doing with the two fingers, people are still trying to emulate it today. It's just stunning. But the point of the whole thing is to really, if you're going to play a jazz line, you can learn that lick. But unless you have the years of listening and knowing what that feel is like. Like I was saying, that was one of the things I was most proud of about that Autumn Leaves video was I thought it really felt authentic. I thought the swing was really good feeling. And I think it could be better. But I thought, hey, I'm a white guy in my 70s, but I'm swinging, man. That feels pretty good. I was really proud of that. But that's not from something I practiced. You can practice it, but that's from years of listening. That's kind of knowing the history of, okay, this is how this can feel, right? And having, fortunately at this part of my playing career, the ability to place it in a very specific spot. And that's the players that I've gravitated towards, I think have that command of time in such a way that they can place it in an extremely specific place.
Right.
You know what I mean? So
yeah.
That's the part. That's a very long-winded answer to your very simple question. What do you tell? But that is it. That's the listening thing, the oral act. That's really the true, large tool of our toolbox that we need to develop, right?
Yep. I don't mind long answers because what are the benefits of this and this whole medium is the that we don't get cut off in these small windows of like, all right, you have a 5-minute interview. It's like give your little clip.
I know, right?
It's like no, you get to explain. You get
our
to
word from our sponsor.
Right.
We can go deep. We can go deep into the thought process. Well, thanks for allowing me to do that and providing the platform in a really nice way, man. I greatly appreciate it. But I've done a few interviews along the years, and there's they always go fine, but there's ones where you feel like, okay, this is easy, and you can feel comfortable and you can flow freely, and so I appreciate you on that level very much. So continued success to you, my friend.
Thank you, my friend.
You're doing good. So I wish you much success, and as we know more than ever, we're all in this together, right?
That's right.
That's the other thing. I hope that gets. I came up with an analogy the other day, and I'm sure somebody else has thought of this, but I was proud of myself in the moment where we're talking about people with extremely different views, be it politically or whatever, and I go, man, they're shooting themselves in the foot. And I go, but we're in the same boat. So they're shooting themselves in their foot in our boat. And so, we're in this together, man. So please don't shoot yourself in the foot, dude. It's like, I know you're,
I love that.
Kind of a funny way of looking at it. It's our boat. We can't ever consider us and them. It's just not that way. It's us.
Yeah.
It just is. So it's challenging times, man, but just keep trying to do good out there. That's the best we can do. Treat each other with love and respect.
All right, Andy, it's been awesome.
Hey, man, thank you, Alex.
Ladies and gentlemen, Andy Timmons.
My honor.
Yeah.
Thank y'all.